Hi, I'm Scott Stanley, and this is the third installment of a STAR project on iniquity. I decided to record some studies that would simplify the Bible, and the first subject I felt impressed to do was on iniquity. Now, as these studies go out and more people listen to them, I'm getting feedback, and people are asking questions, and they want to know, what did you mean about this and that, and I welcome any question. So I'm asking you to contact me. You can email, call, text. I'm better at it if you call, but I'll try to text to you insofar as I understand. One question that I have received deals with the word iniquity, and how do we even know iniquity is a thought and not an action? How do we know it's thought? Well, I want to read something to you from Matthew chapter 15. And Christ makes a statement there. I don't know that people really grasp the meaning of what he is saying. Matthew chapter 15. I'm going to start reading at verse 16. And Jesus said, "Are you also yet without understanding? Do not you yet understand that whatsoever enters in at the mouth goes into the belly and is cast out into the draught? But those things which proceed out of the mouth, they come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts." Now, he is going to list these evil thoughts. And I want you to consider, he isn't saying out of the mouth comes evil thought and also this and this and this. He's going to define the evil thought. Out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornication, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things that defile a man, but to eat with unwashen hands doesn't defile a man. So, what if we were having a discussion and the word murder was brought up? And I were to say to you, oh, murder, well, that's an evil thought. And maybe you would reply back, well, it's actually more than that. Murder is when you kill somebody. And I would say, well, but it's an evil thought. Jesus just said that. I'm not making it up. Out of the mouth, out of the heart, come evil thoughts. Murder. So how would you apply the word iniquity to this? Is iniquity something you do or something you think? Murder comes from the heart. Adultery comes from the heart. Fornication, well, it comes out of the heart. So, for me, when I read this, iniquity, if you want to say literally killing somebody, well, that's iniquity. But it starts in the heart. And if you call murder, the literal murder, iniquity, you have to call the evil thoughts iniquity. And it makes more sense to me that God is trying to help us stop sin in its tracks in order to save you from your sin. if all he is doing is giving you forgiveness for following through on the evil thought, that basically is the Christianity I grew up with. And I believe I have graduated to something that helps me in my life and sets me free from the sin, iniquity. The action of iniquity is sin, and that is the way I would consider murder, fornication, adultery. But I feel like this is proof enough that iniquity is the evil thought. And again, he is calling murder an evil thought. It isn't just sin. It has to start in the mind. Everything you do or say has to begin in the mind. So this really leads me into the study for today. Each study progressively gets deeper, and today is no exception. I want to use this verse, what we've just read, and really what you're looking at is literal, spiritual. Spiritual is of the mind. Murder, adultery, theft begins in the mind. So what we're going to do is take iniquity and move to the cross. And I pray we take our time doing this. I pray that no one is stumbling over what I'm saying. It's essential that we move to the cross because he gave himself to redeem us from all iniquity. The purpose of the cross was to redeem you from iniquity. So what I want to ask you to do is turn to Isaiah 40. And I am going to read, starting at verse 1. Comfort ye, my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably. Now in verse 2, the word comfortably is to the heart. Speak to the heart to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. Now, before I read the rest of this, when you begin to lust after a woman, or you begin to get angry and begin to really get angry at somebody where you could just ruin their lives, you could just murder them, then if you're a Christian, the warfare has begun. The warfare is happening in your heart. And maybe you're married, maybe you have children, and you begin to be attracted to someone, and you realize in your heart, I know this is wrong, and I'm fighting it with all my might. See, the warfare has started. But in this verse, he is saying, well, speak to the heart. That the warfare and the struggling, the iniquity, it's over. Speak to the heart and say your warfare is accomplished. The iniquity, a better word for pardoned, is reconciled. here in this verse. That is what I want all of us to experience in our lives, victory. But notice what he says here in how you receive the victory. Speak to the heart to Jerusalem, cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is reconciled. Why? For she has received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. Two things. Number one, the righteousness of God is unto everyone, but only upon those who believe. Right here, you have your victory because you received something. You received it. You believed it. It was taught you, and you received it into your heart, setting you free. Well, here he calls it the double. And I have to ask the question, have you ever heard of the double before? Is this the first time maybe you've ever heard that if I can receive the double, I'll have victory in my Christian life? What is the double? Well, to simplify this as much as I possibly can, the double is what we were discussing looking at the word iniquity. There is a literal and a spiritual meaning to the things Christ taught. He even said this. Do you remember in Matthew chapter 5 when he said, well, you have been told, thou shalt not kill. I tell you, don't even get angry. You've been told, you shall not commit adultery. I tell you, don't lust. If you lust in your heart, you're already guilty. See, you take that outward commandment of thou shalt not kill, and then you put it inward. And if I am not going to kill, Jesus said, don't even get angry. Don't let that even begin. Remember, you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can prevent it from building a nest. So Christ took the law and put it inward. He applied it inwardly. So maybe, if you look at this law outward, maybe you think you're doing okay because I haven't killed anybody, I haven't committed adultery, but have you been angry and have you lusted? Yes, but the law says not to kill. Well, Jesus shifted gears on that understanding. Paul wrote something very significant regarding this. It's in Romans 7:14. For the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. If you are carnal and you don't understand spiritual things, then you're not understanding the law, and that is where the Jews were. They did not understand the law was spiritual. Again, Romans 7:14 makes that statement. The law is spiritual. And you know what? It always was. In God's heart, He would never have you live your life in lust or live your life in hate, in anger, in bitterness. So when he said, "Thou shalt not kill," Jesus informs us that means don't get angry. That's what that actually means. Don't even go that direction. So for me, that was enlightening. It was like, wow, I never really thought of that. It makes more sense, though, that God is saving us inwardly. Why did Christ die? To redeem you from iniquity. And this is part of the iniquity I have carried all my life. What I was taught about keeping the 10 Commandments, no one put that inwardly and really taught me how to overcome the inward. It is the cross where you're redeemed from iniquity. So when he says your warfare is accomplished, your iniquity is reconciled, he's talking about at the cross. That's where that happened. So if you are not understanding the cross, you're not going to be redeemed from the iniquity of your mind. And just like we read in Matthew 7:23, haven't we done many wonderful things? Haven't we cast out demons? Haven't we prophesied in your name? Depart from me. You are a worker of iniquity. You're working your iniquity. Iniquity is the thought, the action of it, or the works of it, are sin. And you may think everything is fine because you haven't done this, I haven't done that, but you haven't understood the cross, and your warfare is not accomplished. You still have your iniquity. We need to go to the cross and correct this. And that's where we're headed. We're headed to Calvary.